Hey everybody, good morning. It is Sunday, May 14th, 2023, actually, and it is Mother's Day. So I hope everyone out there is making this day special for all the mothers in their lives and making sure that they have a wonderful day because they all deserve it, of course. So today's Safety Sunday topic is on complacency. We've talked about complacency in the past, but I want to lead or talk a little bit about how I believe complacency drives a lot of what we do, and it certainly to me is a driver for us taking shortcuts in the field. And every workplace has hazards. That's not that's not a secret, of course. And our line workers face some significant hazards for sure. And I believe that a major contributing factor for the number of SIFs or serious injury and fatalities that we have in our industry can be attributed to complacency. It is a safety issue. And again, especially when you work in a trade like ours, where we must regularly engage in tasks that normally would not be deemed safe. And unless, of course, we're following the proper standards and protocols and rules and procedures. So complacency can happen to anybody, and it does happen to anybody, even our top performers. It's an attitude and it's a behavior that we can recognize and we can make adjustments to it and we can correct it. It's hard for an individual to recognize when they become complacent, but it is something we can do. And if we don't recognize it, if we don't stop and think about whether or not we're becoming complacent, we will take shortcuts, and it eventually will lead to an incident. So complacency to me is when we start to become so secure in our work that we will take potentially dangerous shortcuts in our task. There's a lot of things that we must do to make sure we go home safe at night. And it's really easy in our industry to violate a rule with no negative consequence. It happens every day. And the more we do that, the more, of course, complacent that we become. And we just eventually become unaware of some of the deficiencies that exist on the job site. It's a major issue, and it's just really critically important that we remain vigilant and aware of the hazards to the best of our abilities. So we've just always got to be on our toes. It's important to recognize when we're becoming complacent. If you're becoming disengaged, if you're starting to lose passion for your work, and you start thinking less about the actions that you're going to take, we start making frequent mistakes, and all of this leads to a loss of focus. And when we become we get into that mode and we start losing that focus, we're going to start neglecting tasks, and we're going to start becoming a little more careless, and that's when we start to take shortcuts. And so that's what I kind of want to talk about mainly today is trying to recognize that and limiting these shortcuts. If you're a brand new or inexperienced employee, it's critical, of course, to never take a shortcut. Concentrate, hold the line, complete the job the way you were trained to do it. And if you're an experienced employee, don't take these shortcuts. The time that we save will eventually catch up with us. It's just not worth the risk. And if you're training new and inexperienced employees, train them to do the job right. Teach them how to do the job the way it was designed and how to do it efficiently and effectively without shortcuts. Because obviously, it's going to lead to some bad consequences later on if we don't. So, taking shortcuts when it comes to safety can mean a lot of different things. Not obviously the main thing that we think about is not implementing all the safeguards. Almost every task that we perform has multiple safeguards that we're required and should be implementing prior to beginning work. And once we start to get complacent and taking these shortcuts, sometimes we don't put all of those into place, and we get away with it. There's no negative consequence, and so we do it again and again and again. And each one of these safeguards is designed and should be implemented to protect you and your coworkers from injury. PPE is a big one. It's huge. There are many instances where people get into a situation, and had they had their PPE on, or had they been using proper cover and grounds, there's a lot of different ways that this can manifest itself. But you just never know when you're going to need it. You never know when you're going to need that truck grounded. You never know when you're going to need that extra piece of line hose. So that's a big one. And then, of course, rushing is another, to me, is a shortcut. You get into too big of a hurry with certain tasks, and it's very easy to take shortcuts just so we can get things done a little bit quicker. Things can be missed when we're rushing, and it can lead to some significant incidents. So just, guys, hold yourself to a higher standard. Just don't take the easy way out. Take the time and the energy to perform the task correctly. Make it a habit to follow safety policies and procedures. And be the guy, be the one on the job that makes it understood that shortcuts are unacceptable when it comes to safety. We're just not going to do it. If coworkers see you taking shortcuts, they're going to be more likely to take them themselves. And you got to realize that these shortcuts are not just affecting you. They can have negative impacts on everybody on the site, of course. And they can negatively impact production. Property damage can occur, equipment damage. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're taking that shortcut. And we talked about time pressure and rushing. A lot of times, when I'm out there and I'm talking to people about getting into too big of a hurry and these time pressures that they feel, 9 times out of 10, these time pressures, this feeling that you got to hurry up and get this done is self-imposed. You're putting it on yourself. Many times individuals, put this self-imposed time pressure on you and the project just to get it done a little faster. There's no outside pressure for that. And so think about that, what you're doing when it comes to rushing. Where's that coming from? So, and again, always, guys, always plan your work. We've talked about this in the past and how critically important it is to plan everything so that you've got all the necessary tools and equipment and material and the proper personnel and all of the PPE, everything that you need to do that job for that day. Because if you end up missing something, you're just going to be much more likely to take that shortcut. So, again, to boil it down, guys, shortcuts is a choice. It's your choice. It is an individual choice. And there's many factors that can affect whether or not an individual makes that choice to take that shortcut. But ultimately, it is a choice, and it's a choice that you have to make. So, and I'm not going to try to pretend or argue that it isn't difficult to never take a shortcut when it comes to safety. It can be difficult to say we're never going to take a shortcut. But there's a lot of actions that can be utilized to eliminate the urge to do so. And it's not something, of course, that we should be taking lightly. So when it comes to shortcuts, guys, just ask yourself, how comfortable are you? Where are you at? When it comes to how much risk that you're going to tolerate. Where are you at? How comfortable are you? What price are you willing to pay? Both physically and monetarily. Where are you at? And remember, you're the last one to have the hands on it. You're the last one to have that train of thought go through your mind on what got you where you're at, what you're about to do, and what the potential outcome is. Just you. So talk to you soon. Be careful.